Louis Armstrong by Kendall Falcamp Merrill. All right, about one of the most famous musicians of all time. He said once, "I didn't wish for anything I couldn't get. And I got pretty near everything I wanted because I worked for it." Some of you need to read that last part. He worked for it. You don't get anywhere being lazy. Okay? So this is Mr. Louis Armstrong. We're going to read chapter 1, Growing Up. In the 1900s, in New Orleans, Louisiana, was one of the most unusual cities in the United States. Located at the mouth of the Mississippi River, the city was used as a trade route. The city attracted people from many backgrounds. These diverse populations had their own languages and their own traditions. The bustling city often had many jobs available. But even so, black people faced discrimination. They usually lived in the poorest neighborhoods. Louis Armstrong was born in one of these neighborhoods on August 4th, 1901. Louis's mother, Mayan, was only 15 years old when Louis was born. His father, Willie Armstrong, left when Louis was 3 weeks old. Marianne did not feel she could care for Louis by herself, for Louis. So she asked Willie's mother, Josephine, to take the baby. For the next 5 years, Louis's grandmother, Josephine, was like a mother to him. She took him to church and taught him to respect others. But when Louis was 5 years old, Mayan sent for him. She was very sick and needed Louis to take care of her and her young daughter, Beatrice. Louis Armstrong was born in this New Orleans house in 1901. Louis took his first trolley ride to go to his mother. A sign on the trolley read, "The front seats were for white people only." Louis couldn't read it, so he sat on the first open seat he found. A black woman yelled at Louis, "Join me in the back." Louis thought she was playing games, and he didn't obey her because she was a stranger. She walked to the front of the trolley, picked him up, and carried him to the back. Throughout his life, Louis would have many more experiences with segregation laws that separated blacks from whites. Louis's new neighborhood was poorer than where he had lived with his grandmother. It was a part of town where people went to gamble and drink alcohol. It was a dangerous place to grow up. Many of the children who lived there had no shoes, even though bricks, broken glass, and nails were all over the streets. Louis and his family shared a crowded one-room house with his uncle Isaac, who had a large family of his own. Louis, his mother, and his sister lived on the left side of the house. His uncle's family lived on the right side. Louis's father lived close by, but he had a new family and did not visit his son. That is sad. When Louis was 6 years old, he attended the Fisk School for Boys. He learned to read and write, but he couldn't attend classes regularly. Even as a young boy, he had many responsibilities and didn't have much time for school. Louis helped feed his family by going through garbage cans behind restaurants and hotels to find food. That same famous person went into garbage cans to be able to eat every day. Most of the time, the families living in poor areas of New Orleans ate red beans and rice. These foods were very cheap, but they were also one of Louis's favorite meals. Louis especially liked a new kind of music called ragtime. In later years, Louis said that ragtime helped create yet another new kind of music, jazz. Musicians who played jazz improvised, composing music as they played. Many historians agree that jazz was the first musical art form created by Americans. Louis soon had a regular job. He began working for a family that owned a junk business. Louis helped gather coal during the day. After an evening break, he helped sell coal to people in the neighborhood. Clubs called honky-tonks were all over Louis' neighborhood. People played many kinds of music in these clubs. Louis spent a lot of time standing outside these honky-tonks and listening to the music. He especially enjoyed Joseph King Oliver, who played the cornet in a popular band led by trombonist Kid Ory. A cornet is similar to a trumpet, only slightly smaller. Young Louis began to dream of being a musician too. This is Kid Ory right here at the bottom, and he was playing the trombone in Honolulu, Hawaii, so he obviously went to many places. That's the end of chapter 1. Tune in for chapter 2 very soon. Read every single day, everybody.